Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode, we will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equity, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders. Black Business Matters podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer marketing and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. I'm Larvetta Lofton, your host and founder of the L3 Agency. Welcome to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. Well, I'm super excited because today I don't have a guest. I get to talk to you a little bit about the podcast, what we have in store, some of the highlights of 2021, and just to talk to you and have fun. First of all, I want to thank everyone who has downloaded our podcast and help us get to our goal. I believe we're somewhere at about 175, but I say the end of or the middle of last year, we were at 150. So we are definitely climbing up the ladder. And so I thank you for those that have listened, shared, subscribed, and share. So hope you can leave a review for us too. We love to hear from you and tell us what you want to hear more of. But thank you for tuning in to Black Businesses Matter. And we're excited about these next episodes, but I wanted to share with you the last 7 episodes, some of my highlights. Some of my highlights was one with Lanier Richardson, who was his company, Chicago Trend, was our sponsor. And Lanier really talked about what if Black businesses were overfunded. And if you haven't listened to that episode, you really should listen to that episode because it will empower you about just his journey and the impact that he's doing at his organization to really help Black businesses to get funded. The other one that things where we had to learn, if you haven't listened to Gobble Dog. So true story, company was a former PR executive and went into the food business. So you would think, oh my gosh, how does you make that pivot? But we had to record that 2 times. The first time we had a lot of feedback. The second time we still had some feedback. She was multitasking, and that's what business owners, some of us are wearing many hats. We are office managers, and we're still managing our homes. And so it's sometimes difficult to get on an interview and be totally present. So, but my wonderful team, and I say wonderful team that are in the background, helped us and then supported. So what we did was take 2 episodes and blend them together to make that episode. So if you haven't listened to it, please take a listen because you'll see the magic that we were able to do to make it better because we have that feedback. And we want to make sure that when you listen to our podcast that you are able to hear it. It's clean and you are empowered. So please, Gobble Dogs. And let me say this, you better watch out for Gobble Dogs because they are going to be taking the world by the storm with their options, their veggie options and vegan options for those that love hot dogs and still like to go to the ballpark. So that was my other one. The other is Kyla. Black joy is our currency. For all the things that we face, we've recognized that Black joy is a currency, even as Black businesses. We hear so many Black businesses who were thriving in this pandemic. And so she really talked about the need for businesses to understand the space of having a disability and how can you implement that into your marketing campaigns or your communication strategies. So just her as a marketer, as an impact leader at a top advertising firm, and just giving her time was so important. And I'll highlight that even for us, I run a marketing and communications agency in Chicago, and I have the pleasure to work with brilliant women of different thought. While we are Black women and women of color, we have different ways in how we think. And so one of the things that we've been leading with is being culturally sensitive. We've heard this whole discussion around D&I, and we are just saying culturally sensitive. And what does culture isn't about race? And you're going to hear a lot of that in these upcoming episodes around culture, and that culture isn't just color. It's color, but it's also understanding that we can connect through culture. We can connect in those ways of music. We can connect based on some of our personal interests. We can connect in some interests with the things that we've had to overcome and triumph through. We can connect that way. So we're going to hear more about that and understand that. So much so is, I'll share with you all, last year for us, we helped a lot of young businesses. And I say young in the sense of young. So while we've been in business 21 years, I was blessed that one of my pastors, because, I believe in leading a company that is grounded in faith. And so I was sharing my disappointments and things that occur every day within an organization, within a business. And I just said to myself, I said, hey, this business should know better. They've been doing this for X amount of years, or 16 years. And what he referenced, and I thank him for being one of my trusted advisors and pastors, is that he said, well, that's like a 16-year-old. So we have to have grace in business, because just because someone's been at 16 years, they're still a teenager, just like a 16-year-old. And so I've had to learn how to not put that level of pressure sometimes on businesses, because there's an expectation that we have. And for me, at 20 years and now 21 years, 22 years, we're about to approach 22 years. We're 21, 22-year-olds. I don't know about y'all, but at that age, you thought you knew everything. You think you know everything. You want to explore. And so there's times where I have to be reminded that I'm still not seasoned in this space. And so, but when you take my 21 years and you take some of my team members who's got 3 years, and I've got another one that's got 10, and you put this all together, we got 50 years of experience. But I can't take it and say single-handedly, my 21 years, I should know better. It's the collaboration of all of my staff put together that make up 50 years to be able to lead with mission and with impact. And that's what we've been able to do, as a thought leader agency, and helping businesses to identify micro influencers. And so one of the moments I want to share with you all is that we're an influencer marketing firm. And so what is an influencer? An influencer is individuals, even organizations and companies that are empowering and being able to use their various networks, socially, contacts to be able to amplify a message, a narrative, or movement. And that's what influencers are do. So whether you are what we say macro, those are our celebrities and, people that are public, sometimes public figures and actors and, these, but then there are micro influencers and nano influencers who we like to think we do a lot of business with. Those are people who may not have several, and I say several, they don't have, 50,000, maybe they have 5,000, maybe they have 7,000. And that's a combination of Instagram, maybe their contacts and their email list. Maybe it's their LinkedIn. We put that all together, and that we consider them to be a micro influence, and that's important. And so we had a meeting last year with a partner agency that we want to do business on the power of micro influencers. And if you're listening, all of us have influence, and how do we amplify and leverage that influence to be able to make an impact? And some of it is through someone paying us money. Some of us, supporting us and giving us access to resources. Some of us being able to just share because you want to share. And what we do is being very authentic. we want influencers who want to talk about that subject, not just take it for the money, but that this is something that they love. And so for me, I love everything about Black businesses. So I serve as an influencer that really supports, advocates, collaborates with Black businesses every chance that I get, because it is important for me as a leader, because I understand the impact that Black businesses make. And so I serve in that capacity. Oftentimes, I'm not able to do as much as I want to do online. And sometimes, because most importantly, I want to make sure that I am leaning into my team and making sure that they're given the proper attention and time and effort to do what it is they were called to do within our organization. And so one of my proudest moments last year was we did a lot of RFPs, and we did a lot of them with collaborations. What you all want to know is we're right now the only African American woman-led marketing and outreach together company in the energy and utility space. And so we've had the chance to partner with other people in the energy that service, in the technical space and really support them, in a creative space to be able to help that message. So we're really proud of being able to carve out that niche, because I was part of a program with DePaul University with their Women of Color Entrepreneurship Institute, and really being able to hone in on those skills and what we offer. Now, we do a lot of work, in technology. We do a lot of work in most recently in the fitness space. And so really brands who really want to connect to women, to Gen Z, into the millennial segment. And so when you look at our team, I think that, yeah, we're all Black women, but we're very diverse in the area of what we have. I have, we talk about, just being a mother. I'm not a mother, but I have people on my team that are. And so it's important that we showcase that's part of the woman that, inside of us all. And one of my other episodes that I absolutely love was Sister Afia therapy, because one of the things that she said was that outside of being a business owner, who am I? And she talked about the importance of really, and she said, y'all know the rest. You got to go find it and check out that podcast. But it helped me to understand that while I'm a business owner, outside of being a business owner, I'm a sister. I'm an amazing auntie to an amazing niece. I'm an amazing friend. I have an amazing relationship, with what I consider as my life partner. And so and so having that as part of me as business allows for me to connect to others that, yes, I run this business and I've been challenged. And so while, just running this business and being able to do this, I'm caring, for parents that are aging. And so having to do that also as a business owner. And so it's challenging. And so I thank you guys for just listening and being able to support us as you listen to this podcast. And so I'm really excited. And so what I want to talk about next is some of these Black businesses that hit the Forbes list. So if you listen to my trailer, one of the things that I said was the reason why I paid attention to trends. And I said in the financial crisis in 2008, they had showed all these amazing businesses that were thriving through the financial crisis in 2008. And I said, well, what if, it'll be all these Black businesses that survive, COVID, and we got it. Well, L3 wasn't there, but there are other businesses that made it that I'm really proud to be able to share because I support them. I've purchased from them. I've shared about them, and maybe sometime I'll even have them on the podcast in the near future. But the McBride Sisters collection, I'm not sure if you heard it. In fact, they even have a documentary or a video series online, and that's wine. And they've launched a couple of different, I think, they got some canned products. And I love their rosé, like absolutely rosé. And they also have a red that I like. Trader Joe's used to sell it, but they don't sell it anymore. So McBride Sisters, I hope it'll come back at some point. But they're on there. Amazing. They made the Forbes list. Black and bold. if you're not familiar with Black and Bold, you definitely need to check on them. And they are about coffee, but they also have subscription services that you can have downloaded. So for those who don't want to go to Starbucks, some people were anti-Starbucks when that racial injustice came in. Now there is a coffee called Black and Bold that probably took advantage of that opportunity, and they are in Target, Walgreens, Whole Foods, Amazon, Albertsons, Mariano's, Hy-Vee shop. I mean, they're everywhere. So you may want to check them out. And so they're also in that new movie on Hulu, Women of Movement. I think they're featured somewhere in there too. So may want to check out. So they've definitely developed a lot of impact and partnerships beyond coffee. And so that's what we really want to do more of, is showing people that while you may serve an industry, how can you deliver on impact for your business? And so, or for what you do as your own public figure, and making that impact. And the other business was Melanin Hair Care. And so, when I think about COVID, so many people were home doing their own hair. I was one of those. So we were at home, people were drinking their coffee, and Black and Bold does do tea too. We're drinking our tea, doing our hair, and drinking our wine and champagne. So those businesses did very well in Forbes. And so that's when you know that Black businesses matter, when they can list Black businesses that were powerful, that they're able to list. So I challenge you, what business would you like to see, and how can you support that business? How can you help them get on that Forbes list? Or maybe you're the next one to be there, and recognize that there's more room for others, that while I see 3, there's room for more. So don't believe that because you maybe have a wine company or hair care business or coffee, that your business can't be there too. So really think about impact about your business. What's the impact that you want for your business? So we say that all the time. And being impact and understanding to be culturally sensitive. When people build a business that really is thoughtful and in their research, it shows up. And as a company that is all about delivering a thoughtful approach, we find it to be quite successful and significantly impactful. So when you're thinking about your business, how can we make an impact, and how are we being culturally sensitive for people that are marginalized, that are just not from color? It could be economics, it could be mental, it could be physical, it could be, spiritually. So definitely think about that. The other thing that I want to talk about is kind of like the future of L3, and then what you're going to hear from the podcast in the future episodes. And so I'm super excited about the guests that we have lined up for the rest of this season. And then obviously with our company, we're really hoping to grow our business in the space of energy. We're definitely wanting to help with helping businesses becoming culturally sensitive and companies understanding how much value. And you're going to hear from a chief financial officer on why it matters, that it's beyond the numbers, that it's really about impact, and that culture really matters. And you're going to hear from her, who leads a top advertising and marketing company in Chicago that is responsible for leading in a big impact in Chicago that has helped Black businesses really thrive. And so you'll get to hear from them, and perhaps even want to support what they're doing in Chicago, namely. So I'm excited to share that with you. I'm also excited to bring one of our other guests. We also have in a special, there is a firm, and there's a Black firm that provides cloud virtual meeting space. And that's what we're on right now. And so you're going to hear from the founder, like he's come in with, he's like the competitor to Zoom and Microsoft Teams. And so we're excited, and they're going to sponsor some episodes. So you'll get a chance to hear and learn about them and what they are doing, and what this man out of Iowa is doing, and he is going to be a disruptor to the virtual space that's been dominated by these big machines. So I'm excited to be able to share and hear his story of getting into the technology space and how, he might be on that list for Forbes. So, and that would be really cool because Black Businesses Matters would have brought that to you. So excited about that. We're also excited to bring, I won't even give you too many details because it's going to be a treat, but he is right now a pastor of the largest, the fastest growing church right now in the world, and how they are, serving in this place of culture, and why the Black church is such an important element to Black businesses in the culture, and how they've significantly impact Black businesses. So we'll get to hear from them and to understand, like, is it Black churches' responsibility to hire Black businesses? Do we put that level of pressure, or is that something that literally is something that they're just led to do, and it just comes very natural and organic? And so we'll get to hear from them and understand the faith, how faith plays a role in culture as it relates to Black businesses, and how we're able to connect with our faith. So I'm truly excited to sit down with the pastor, executive pastor. And I promise you all, we're going to have so much fun because he is hilarious. And if you know I'm from Chicago, you'll get an idea of who he is. So I'm super excited about that. The other thing I wanted to just add, as I think about closing out 21 and really preparing for 22, I got rid of like this long list and kind of kept with kind of like my major goals that I want to accomplish in, 8 to 12 weeks. And I used to put all these, put this whole list together, and there's some major goals that I want to do. And those, that goal that I'm sharing with you is to really be able to hire more women, more Black women to support the efforts to support our firm, and to be able to be on more diversity and supplier portals where they can be able to connect with us to support some of their businesses. And so we really want to do more of that and be able to partner. We want to, again, collaborate more with other businesses, Black businesses, big firms, to be able to provide more support and be able to help from a capability standpoint. And then I want to grow the podcast and make sure that our podcast is a podcast that's on the top list. Maybe there's a top podcast list, and we're on the top for Black Businesses Matter. So that's some of my goals that I want to accomplish. And so as I, close out this and, be able to continue what on this message, the other thing I wanted to add is, what do you want to see more of on the podcast? So if you can reach out to us, you can go to our website. The one thing is subscribe to our newsletter. If you want to get more information, keep you informed of the various trends and highlights that we're doing within our organization and our company, and then to be able to make sure that you're on the hot list of the podcast. And so you can subscribe to our podcast. And then the other thing is, if you think we are a viable business and you think that we can support, reach out to us. We are one that work well with other agencies, or perhaps you're looking for a marketing firm and you're looking for one that can help solve some of your business and marketing challenges. Please reach out to us. Our website is the L3agency.com. You can also find us on socially at the L3 Agency. And so with every guest, we ask, what brings you joy? And I'm going to ask myself, what brings me joy? And what brings me joy is my family. When I am with my family, that is important for me, and spend time with them in quality time. And as I mentioned to you all, especially being the best auntie to my wonderful niece is so precious to me. So when I get to spend time with her, I am just overjoyed when I have moments with her, because she really does make me better. And so I'm grateful when I get to spend time with, my mom, my dad, and so that's important to me. And the other thing that is important is when I'm able to empower others and bet on them and be able to bet on them is really, and when I say bet on them, give them an opportunity or give them a chance, it really does bring me joy because I'm able to empower. I love my mentees and what they're able to do. It really does. And I see them soar and flap their wings and really take over the world. It does. It really inspires me when I see my mentees grow and they grow in their own area and they become leaders of major companies or they're just the leader of their home, whether they are, as a mother and caring for kids, which is why I remember work I used to do with leading ladies. And so I'm really excited about that. And that just brings me joy. And then last, but certainly not least, is when I get to support Black businesses and support them, bring them on, hire them for a service, hire them for a project, whatever I'm able to do. I love to do that and do it with intentionality. So for me, that brings me joy. And the other part is I love telling stories. So I love to talk and be able to be here. And when I'm able to tell stories, that does make me happy. And so I just want to say that one little story about the business we do, and then I'm going to wrap up. That one being, we got a chance a couple years ago to build a micro influencer campaign for one of our clients. And they have been working with a number of, macro influencers. And so we introduced them to some micro influencers who were not in the industry, but we knew that they were making an impact and that their stories would go over very well. And so we gave them a chance. And when I say we gave them a chance, we gave someone that was like, we don't even know what influencers are, but, but they had an impact. They were making an impact. And so as a result, they developed their video, they were able to publish it. And that thing from an engagement got up to 12%. And that was huge for us because we took a chance. Remember I said we bet on an influencer that ordinarily would not have been considered in the space of numbers, but we knew that they had impact. And so it was one of my fondest memories of when I say you're betting on someone and showcase it to someone that had never heard of them and be able to grow. And that is what we do. And just like I remember we had Verizon as a client, this was about 7-8 years ago, we were introducing influencers. And one of those influencers was Lovia JJ. And if you follow her, she is the troublemaker. And I have her book. And one thing's for sure is that we presented Lovey. We also, another agency presented Kevin Hart, and we were going to bet on Lovey. And we wanted to bet on Lovey because we knew that she was, making a tremendous amount of impact in what she was doing. And, they were like, who is this? They could barely pronounce her name. And, we were just like, she's amazing. And so for them, they were unaware. And so they looked at the numbers for Kevin Hart and they were like, no, who is this? Now look at her today. Her book is The Professional Troublemaker. I knew I had it. And look at where she is, a New York Times best-selling author. And behind the scenes, we were advocating for Lovey. The time we were talking to her, she's like, where are we? And they went. When the numbers came out, Kevin Hart's numbers, I think were somewhere around 3 to 6% in engagement rate. So I just want to tell you that, just because your numbers are not what they are, there's a tremendous of impact. And we like to think we go and find those, we'll call them unicorns within, or superstars within their own right. And we help them grow their business and their tribe and align them with a brand and together to make that authentic connection. So really think that through. And, this is a plug for Lovey. If you haven't read her book, you may want to read her book, The Professional Troublemaker. Lovey JJ Jones. I love her, support her, and have supported her when she used to have the Red Shoes Project, and she used to wear red shoes. So that's how we go way, way, way back. But love her pivot. And I thank you guys for listening to me today, and letting you know what we have in store with other podcasts. And check out some of our previous podcasts. And again, feel free to share, subscribe. Visit us online at the L3 Agency and subscribe to our newsletter so we can keep you informed. We've got merch. We have Black Business Matter sweatshirts and shirts and mugs. So as Black History is coming up, get you that mug, get you that t-shirt, get you that sweatshirt and rock it, so that we know that you're taking a pledge on being intentional about supporting Black businesses. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. We hope that you get a lot out of this and are inspired to be able to launch, to support, to advocate, collaborate, whatever it might be. We just thank you for just listening, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Thank you for joining us this week on Black Businesses Matter podcast. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast wherever you listen so you will never miss a show. You can also follow us on social media at the L3 Agency and at Larvetta Speaks. If you love the show, leave a rating so that we can continue to bring you impactful episodes. You can also take the pledge and order our merch at our website at thetl3agency.com. THEL3agency.com. Thanks for listening, and see you next week.